With Hitman 2's release recently, along with the fact that Codename 47 became 18 years old on November 19th, I thought it'd be cool to look back at the humble beginnings of one of my favorite series ever, from its inception all the way to the release of its largest game yet. If you're like me and trying to play this game on a Windows 10 PC, you're probably going to run into a few issues.
Oh, what the fuck?
The game doesn't have much for options, specifically resolution, and if you have multiple monitors, it's probably going to shit itself like it did for me, but there is a way to make it run properly. What you're going to need to do is edit the INI files. I'm going to include what you need to have the INI files say in the description below, along with linking to the Steam forum threads for any possible questions you might have to the people who came up with these solutions. There is also a draw distance unlocker that I'm going to include in the description below that you could download, which is going to help with a lot of the later levels that are very big, and you might start getting lost in them because they're very samey looking, like the jungle of Colombia and the docks of Rotterdam. But in making the game run in higher resolutions, like 1920 by 1080, it makes the FOV be slightly more zoomed in, and it doesn't scale the HUD, so I hope you have good eyesight because it's going to be pretty fucking tiny. Many fans and critics alike praise Blood Money, the third mainline title in the series, for its score by Jesper Kyd. But Jesper Kyd's been a composer for the series since the beginning, and while I don't think the score is as strong as Blood Money's, I do think it's still incredibly good and a cut above the rest compared to what was released at the time and to some of the games that come out now. The only issue with it is that there are very noticeable hard cuts and a few seconds of just dead silence before the songs would loop. Once you get your hands on the gameplay, you instantly feel how awkward these controls are. This is prime example Eurojank. For those who don't know what Eurojank is, my favorite explanation is from this GameSpot thread saying, Eurojank is games developed by European teams, which usually have incredibly ambitious ideas with a strong focus on gameplay depth rather than presentation, and usually lack polish due to their tight budgets. Most people usually attribute Eurojank to games like Stalker or the Gothic series, but I think the first Hitman game is perfect prime Eurojank. It's like aged wine or a fine cheese. I'm going to rebind the controls to something a little more modern, and you can just pause the video here to look to what I set it to if you want, because I find these far more comfortable and playable compared to what the game's default settings are. Compared to what the series would later become, Codename 47 is fairly grounded and straightforward, not much in the way of crazy and goofy ways of killing targets to make it look like accidents. Rather than feeling like a contract killer tied to a secret society organization, you come off as more of a mafia hitman for most of this game. Only a few of the levels make the player really feel the scale of what 47 is involved in. Other levels being more simplistic and straightforward, having you just run to a location, kill the target with a gun, and then leave. This game back in the day got a lot of praise for its ragdoll and cloth physics, which you can instantly tell when you walk 47 around. You could see his tie flow in the wind. The mirror reflections are also pretty impressive, like in the fourth level having 3 reflections at once. Hell, some games nowadays don't even have reflections, and this shit was looking crisp back in 2000. The tutorial is pretty standard for what you would expect it to be, but it gives you a small taste to the amazing voice acting to come.
The man you are looking for will be eating at the restaurant.
You have found golden statue. Very nice.
Can't find my book. Very nice book, and now it has gone like petals in autumn. Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most.
And do not drool on the floor.
Too bad.
And how it constantly cuts itself off with new lines depending on where you're standing in a room.
Not bad, you were cool. Excellent.
The first level also feels like an extension to the tutorial, having the player need to go to the top of one of the buildings for a vantage point to snipe the Red Dragon Negotiator. The first 4 levels of the game are still a holdover from what the original title was going to be like, a more fast-paced third-person shooter styled after John Woo films like The Killers and Hard Boiled. It was only after Eidos Interactive became the publisher, having Jonas Enneroth come on as executive producer, does Jacob Anderson, one of the lead designers, reveal in a press reader article that Enneroth pushed the team towards making the game more slow-paced, having you hide the bodies of those you killed to complement the ragdoll physics of the Glacier engine. It's crazy to think without Enneroth how this game and the series would have been very different. It could have easily just been another third-person shooter where its only notable aspect was its death animations and ragdolling, and lost in the obscurity in the soon-to-be ocean of Max Payne clones that would start emerging in the following year with the release of Max Payne in July. Maybe IO could have eventually down the line made The Stranglehold an actual John Woo video game. The second level has you further instigate tension between the Blue Lotus and the Red Dragons by killing the Blue Lotus emissary and all of the Blue Lotus members attending with him. You can find a sniper rifle in one of the alleys, but I much prefer to just kill the driver to their limo, take his disguise, and plant a bomb in the car and set it off while they're near all of the Blue Lotus members on the sidewalk. Killing the driver has you first experience how awkward it is to try to hide bodies in this game, since it doesn't have a mechanic that allows you to stow away the bodies in trash cans or closets like later titles do. What you have to do is either drag them to one of the sewer grates that are open and just awkwardly grind yourself against the edge until they fall in, or drag them to rooms where the AI does not look in. Mission 3 has you trying to prevent the peace treaty between the two triads from going through, so in order to do that, you need to kill the police chief hosting the treaty and leave the blame on the Red Dragons. In this level, it introduces what I'm not sure was intended to be a feature or just a bug, but if you try to go up behind an armed enemy and strangle them, they will auto-detect you no matter what. In that press reader article I mentioned earlier, Jacob Anderson also mentions that they weren't able to get a few of the bugs and misbehavior of the AI out of the game, so I assume this is what he was talking about. This in turn requires you to need to go into the sneak mode by pressing 4, which is basically just a toggled crouch, but the issue is that you move so slow that you can never really sneak up on people. What you have to do is just walk up to them, get behind them, and then enter the sneak mode for about 2 seconds and then kill them. The best way to kill the police chief is going in before the meeting starts, placing your weapons into the bathroom because you're going to be frisked by the police on guard, get the Red Dragon uniform, come back, then go into the bathroom before the meeting starts, open the door, and use the lean mechanic to shoot him from the bathroom where no one could actually see you and escape out the window. I think the lean mechanic is a super cool feature that's missing from the later games that I think would be pretty interesting to see if they would try to make it return, but due to the clunky controls of this game, and if using the resolution fix, shortening the FOV, the mechanic never feels fully realized. Mission 4 is the first level of the game that starts to really feel like the Hitman levels that we come to know today, with large open-ended areas, leaving a lot of planning for the player to do. The only issue with the larger open-ended levels in this game is that there is no mid-mission saving or checkpoints. There is a respawn system where you get like 1 or 2 respawns depending on the level, but if you died because you alerted somebody, they're still going to be alerted when they spawn you back in. So there's really no point, you might as well just restart the level from the beginning. This ends up becoming very frustrating to the players, especially when they get caught or compromised due to the jank of the game and not their own misexecution. While I do really like this level for being far larger compared to the last 3 and actually being more open-ended and having multi-steps rather than just go here and kill the guy, it does feel like such a ramp of difficulty and complexity compared to the last 3, which would definitely scare off and frustrate newer players. It's not really a problem to me because I've already played other games, so I know what to expect coming into the series, and also if you were ever to get stuck in these levels, you have the infinite access of the internet and YouTube, but back in the day you didn't have anything like that, so you were just kind of stuck. And you can see this reflected in a lot of the reviews from back in the day. Guess you gotta sell those strategy guides somehow. This is the level that starts to show the value of the knife over the fiber wire. As much as I love the fiber wire and think it's a really cool weapon and the animations are really nice, the issue is that they're long and unskippable, and when you're in narrow windows to kill somebody to get disguised, like you need to get the waiters while they're in the bathroom before one of the other waiters or a potential guard walks in, it is more useful to get the knife because it is a fast, quick, instant animation. This again shows you have to hide the bodies in rooms that AI don't go into, because even if you take the bodies that you killed in the bathroom and hide them in stalls and pose them to look like they're taking a shit, people are still going to find them and alert the guards, making your target flee. This level also introduces a design choice that I really don't like for this game, and that is there is randomness to it. In this level, you need to access a safe to get a jade statue to bring to the herbalist on the first floor next to the bar in order to get a poison to kill your target. The only thing is that the safe could spawn in 4 possible locations. I get why they do this because it adds more variety to these levels, increasing replay value, but in a game where it's all about planning, and especially in this one where it's not exactly clear what you're supposed to do for a lot of things, I would think you'd want to keep as many random variables out of the game as possible to mitigate potential frustration. But I do think that it is cool that there's multiple possible ways for you to find out about information for the level. Let's say you didn't go to the brothel to talk to the prostitute. If you kept talking to the bartender, eventually he will mention that if you hear screams coming from the basement, it is the
last white guy who tried to run away before paying his bill,
which informs you about the CIA agent they have trapped in the basement, who will inform you where the safe location is. If you do help the prostitute escape, you get one of my favorite reactions out of 47 from the whole series. This game's tone is more B-movie action schlock rather than a dark, more serious story that the later games have, which helps this game's cutscenes, which are really broken. They're trying their best. Mission 5 takes place in the jungles of Colombia and is by far the worst level in the whole game. While the rest of the levels are pretty janky and some have aged worse comparatively, this is just awful. There's a reason why this level was not included in contracts. To put it simply, the level is needlessly too big. About 5 times too big. Since it's in the jungle, it's basically just a copy and paste of the same 100 feet over and over and over again. If you didn't have the draw distance unlocker installed, then you're probably going to get lost a lot in this level due to the fact that everything looks exactly the same. It has the potential to be really cool, but due to the simplisticness of the game not having any of the later mechanics introduced like distractions by sound or stolen away bodies or what have you, it just feels barren as hell. Most of the level is just you walking back and forth between objectives. The only thing you really want to do in this level is make sure you pick up the sniper and take it with you, because Mission 6 is a continuation of Mission 5, as is Mission 7 is a continuation of 6, which is why I keep saying that they could have cut down the level size and made them all one. If it wasn't so needlessly big, the level could have been compact, well thought out, and more concise, since this level is only getting through the secret path leading you to the drug lord you're trying to kill, needing you to get past the local's god of death, which is just a jaguar, having you kill one of the drug lord's guards and slowly dragging it over to its altar. The level is about maybe 4 or 5 minutes at most. The reason why I said to take the sniper rifle back in Mission 5 with you is because at the start of Mission 7, you walk 5 paces to the left and you have a direct shot at the target for this mission. Now I think this is really cool and it does bring this level a bit back for me, but my enjoyment of it is immediately deflated when you realize that you have to walk all the way around the fence to the other side to get into the compound. Another weird thing with the AI in this level is if they see you holding the sniper rifle, they'll immediately aggro and think that you're an enemy, even though 2 levels ago you could walk right past them with the sniper. In fact, you take it from one of their sniper nests. Mission 8 is my favorite level in the game. I think the hotel levels are always the coolest in the Hitman series. Just so many little details that just do it right for me. Being able to walk past one of the housekeepers and steal a key that they leave in the door while they're going in to clean a room, or stealing any of the do not disturb signs so you could hide dead bodies in them and have no one go into those rooms. There's even a Terminator reference where you go to the florist and give him a message where he'll then give you a bouquet box of roses with a shotgun in it. There's just so much to this level that is great. This is peak Hitman. If they had only one level to show a potential investor or a publisher that this is the promise of the series, this is what we can make more of this if you gave us funds, this would be the level that I would show people. Up until now, I've talked about how the AI has been pretty stupid and really buggy. So this level takes you by surprise, where if you talk to the guards first in your normal clothes and then switch to a bellhop or a room cleaner, the guards are going to recognize you and tell you you've been here before. It's a shame that this is the only instance really of this, because that would have added so much more depth if that was in the rest of the game. This is the only level though that I think uses the fact that you could jump between ledges. It's very limited and they only showed it off in the tutorial, but I can't think of any other section in the entire game that has you jump from one ledge to another. This is the easiest way to get to the target without getting caught, is going from your balcony of your hotel room and jumping to theirs right next to it and killing everybody from behind, stealing the silenced pistol off their table and shooting the target that's in the shower, then leaving the do not disturb sign on the door so no one will ever find the body. Mission 9 suffers from the same issues that Mission 5, 6, and 7 suffer, but to a lesser degree. Yes, the level is probably a little too big than it needs to be, and it's pretty empty, but it doesn't feel as monotonous to walk around in it because there are clear things to do from the beginning. This level also has some randomness to it, needing you to follow the gang members to the rendezvous point to buy guns, so you can be led back to the gun supplier. The only thing is that the meeting can be held in 3 possible locations, and since it seems that the gang member's car can go through solid fences and you can't, you need to realign the tracks of the train that's going through the mission to break the fences so you could sneak in and follow them. Mission 10 is definitely a level that is held back by the limits of this game. In order to get past the entrance guards and go through the fences, you need to either A, kill them, or B, find someone who knows the password and walk with them simultaneously as they're going through the fence, because apparently the AI doesn't bother you then. It could have been cooler if you listened in to the passwords from other people and then gone in through yourself or something else, because it's not enough that you have the same exact clothes as everybody else going through it. You need to know the password that everyone else seems to know as well. But once you get onto the boat is where the level really starts to pick up, increasing in its difficulty because you have to keep in mind all of the weird angles that the ship is to know if people can see you or not, killing other guards in the hallways. If you're someone who is going back to play this game after playing, let's say, 2016, Blood Money, Absolution, or Hitman 2, you're going to be possibly taken aback by the fact that you sometimes have to go loud in this game. Sometimes the best course of action is just pulling out a silenced machine gun and shooting everybody down, like in the engineering room where you need to kill everybody in order to disarm a nuke. Mission 11 has you going back to the start of the game where the tutorial took place at Dr. Ortmeyer's sanitarium. I've yet to really go into detail about the story of this game, so let's start doing it now that all the pieces are in place. 47 is the 47th clone of Dr. Ortmeyer, who is trying to make the perfect killing machines. Your previous 4 major targets, that being Li Hong in Hong Kong, Pablo Ochoa in Colombia, Franz Fuchs in the Budapest Hotel, and Boris in Rotterdam, are all former associates of Dr. Ortmeyer. Throughout the game, when you killed these major targets, you picked up letters from them referencing the connection between each other, all meeting in the French Foreign Legion. All 5 of them would eventually come together to create the group called the Five Fathers, donating parts of their genetic code towards the creation of Agent 47. The 4 previous targets going their own ways, becoming major crime lords of the world, while Ortmeyer stayed in Romania, opening a sanitarium which could disguise for his cloning labs underneath it. After 47 killed the other 4 fathers, Ortmeyer was able to create the number 48 line, which is pretty much identical in power to 47, except they have no conscience of their own. Having the 48s, Ortmeyer sees no reason for 47 to exist anymore because he cannot control him, so bringing him back to the sanitarium was all just a setup. Having the Romanian special forces flood the building and having you either have to fight your way out with the weapons that are stashed in the level, or taking a doctor's disguise and sneaking into the basement where you will then fight against Ortmeyer. I find that the best course of action is before the special forces swarm the building, you get all the weapons you can and then hide them right in front of the door that leads to the underground facility, allowing you to carry them over into the next level. Mission 12, Meet Your Brothers, is an excellent final level and climax to the story of Codename 47, having you fight an army of Agent 48. The only real downside to this level comes from the fact that it's pretty difficult and will probably end up having you die a few times, so it's going to loop the same speech from Ortmeyer over and over and over again, and I found that getting incredibly old really fast.
The return of the prodigal son. Now this calls for a celebration. Yes, Daddy will come home.
Fighting the 48 clones, though, is incredibly fun. You get a ton of options for weapons that you could find scattered around the lab, including a minigun. After killing every Agent 48, you could then meet face to face with Ortmeyer. Shooting him in the chest will trigger the final cutscene, where 47 leans over and snaps his neck, and the blood from the gunshot wound forming the Hitman insignia as the credits begin to roll. Codename 47 released to overall mixed, leaning towards positive reviews. It's currently sitting at a 73 on Metacritic. Most people citing that it was a good idea, but the execution was a little off due to questionable game design, and the fact that the game pretty much leaves you to your own devices led to player frustration due to the unclearness of some of the things you need to do. For a small team like IO, originally starting out at 7, and this being their first game, this shows immense promise for the studio. It also sold incredibly well for a new IP only being on the PC, selling a little over $500,000 in 2000, which we could find from a Square Enix strategy meeting PDF from 2009. IO would take this victory and move on to further improve their critical darling in the next title, Hitman 2: Silent Assassin. If you made it this far, I just want to say thanks for watching. It was really fun making this, and I'm really excited to do the rest of the games in the series, especially Blood Money because that's probably my favorite still, even though Hitman 2 is giving it a run for its money, and the Absolution video because I have quite a few opinions on that game. If there's anything you guys think I should improve for the next video, let me know in the comments below, because I want to make this series as perfect as possible so I could do the justice to the series that I love the most. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.